Y'all, cup stacking might be one of the weirder things I've been into during my lifetime. I'm not gonna lie. When I was like really young, I was really into like cup stacking for some reason. And it lasted for like a year, which was more surprising because I usually like drop shit pretty quickly after I get into them. But this one lasted a year. So the basic gist of cup stacking is you just have a bunch of cups, you stack them in a pattern, and you time yourself to see how fast you can do it. And it was interesting, I will say. In fact, the more interesting thing was that at some point we had to do it for like school or something. And that was just way more weird now that I think about it. I was like, the thing is that cup stacking isn't like huge, at least if I remember correctly. It might be way bigger than I think, I'm not gonna lie, because for the most part, I haven't kept up with it in like decades, actually. Like, it's been that long. And I don't truly know too much about it, even though I was into it for a while. But I think it's just like, I don't know if I'd even find it fun anymore, because in reality, cup stacking is doing the exact same thing over and over again, which I do like repetitive tasks, but you know, at some point you'd be like, I want to try something just a little different, and I don't think that fulfill it for me. Like cubing, for example, you are basically doing the same thing over and over again, but there's like some variance at least. Like the beginning typically has the most variance, and then it becomes less and less like varied. Like you learn the most at the start, and then you're just like the middle of the solve. You're like, all right, I have to memorize this amount of shit, which is typically more than like the last part where you're just like, all right, last layer or like last step. It depends what method you use. And then it's just like, all right. And then it's like, it typically, it gets the more into the solve you go, like the less variance it has, at least from what I know or what I remember. Cubing is has just a little more like difference compared to like cup stacking, which is probably why I got into it more, to be honest, because they both use the same timer, right? In fact, the timer was originally used for cup stacking. That's why it's called the stack mat timer. If you heard it, call that stack mat, you know, stack and then you have a mat. Very, very clever naming.